Alright guys, so this is kind of meant to be an introductory session to Follow-Up Boss. Although Follow-Up Boss is so easy and intuitive to learn and use on a daily basis that there's not much outside of what I'm going to cover today that you really need to know. What you need to know are the basics that I'm going to cover today, and then over time, as you get more comfortable using it, there are a couple other features that you might want to look into, but as of right now, don't worry too much about that as you're just getting to learn the system. So the first thing to note about Follow-Up Boss is that it's a cloud-based software system. Cloud-based software computing just simply means that you can go to a URL, log in, and you don't have to download any software to your computer. Okay? So all that you need to do to log in to the CRM to Follow-Up Boss is open your browser and go to www.followupboss.com. And that's going to take you to the main page where you can log right into your account. Now, if you don't have a login to your account yet, please email myself at tc@ocbuyshouses.com, and I can get you a login. So I'm just going to click on the login, enter my username, which is my email, and my password. And that's it. I'm logged in. This is the main dashboard of Follow-Up Boss. This is what you'll see every single day when you log in. The first thing that you want to do once you get online and once you get logged in, you get your username and your password to Follow-Up Boss, is you want to make sure both your email and your phone are connected. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So you hover over your name here, and then you go to My Settings. Alright, then you're going to go to Phone. And now mine's already set up. What you're going to want to check off is text message and email. And you're going to want to leave it how it is right here. All the days checked off and 24 hours a day checked off. What this will do is this will notify you anytime you get an appointment assigned to you. You'll get both a text message and an email. Okay? So my phone information is already in here. Your phone information, if you already haven't set this up yet, there's going to be something that you just need to click on here. You're going to put in your phone number. You're going to get a phone call with a code to put in. You're going to put the code in here, and then you're going to be automatically set up at that point on to receive text message alerts every single time that you get a lead. Now, this is really important because there are a lot of times, unfortunately, myself and Barbara, when we're scheduling appointments, we're not perfect. A lot of times, unfortunately, we'll schedule an appointment, we'll assign the lead to you, and we might forget to put it on your calendar. Or you might forget to check your calendar. So it's important that anytime that you get an appointment assigned to you, that you know about it. And you're going to know about it by getting this text message and email confirmation every single time a lead is assigned to you. So every single time that you get this text message or this email, the next time you're at a computer, log into Follow-Up Boss, go over the background of the appointment, make sure that it's on your calendar for the day and time. Don't assume that we put it on. Double check. Make sure that it's put on. And this will allow you to do that. So click here, text messaging, email notifications. And then the next thing that you're going to want to check off is just to make sure that your email is connected as well. Now, my email is connected. You can see here you have this email connected to Follow-Up Boss. If my email was not connected, again, there would be a button here to click off, and it would send you a test email, and you'll be able to find out very easily. So after you connected via email, go back and just order the settings, look like how my settings are here. The phone screen looks just like this here. the email screen looks just like this here. And if it's not, please let us know and we can help you make sure that you are connected. And this will just avoid, potentially missing appointments or anything like that. All right, so the second thing I want to review really quickly is what to do just to make sure after you have an appointment what you need to do. So anytime a lead gets assigned to you, the lead is going to appear as a hot prospect, okay? So a hot prospect just means simply that we were able to schedule and book the appointment, okay? So this particular property, this particular lead here, Stephen, I can't even pronounce his last name, you can see that there's an appointment here for 1:15 at 11 a.m., all right? After you attend that appointment, what you're going to want to do, one of the things that you're going to want to do is log back in and just check off the box that the appointment was completed. That way we know that you attended the appointment, because there are probably about 20 to 30% of the appointments that we book for you, they're either going to cancel or they're going to be no-shows. So we need to know that the appointment was not attended, and if it was attended, we want you to check off that box just so that we know. All right, the third thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to make sure that after you go on the appointment that you send me the one-page appointment analysis worksheet. Now, after you go on the appointment and you send me the appointment analysis worksheet, you are going, I am going to manually enter that into Follow-Up Boss for you. And the reason we want to do that is because we want to make sure that every single appointment is the exact same way. It's the same exact process. So I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like after you've sent me the appointment analysis. Hold on for 1 second. I just need to actually find an appointment here that had that happen. All right, so this is an appointment. Alice McNamara. Joan took the appointment. She went out to the appointment, and then she filled out the one-page appointment analysis worksheet. And let me just pull that up just so that if you haven't seen it before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And all it is just a one-page sheet, and there's a separate video on this, but it's a one-page sheet just going over all of the questions that need to be answered every time that you take in a seller appointment from us. All right, so if you haven't seen the appointment analysis worksheet, just so that you know what it is, I'm going to pull it up here really quickly. I'm not going to go over exactly what needs to be done, but just so you know exactly what it looks like. Here it is. So every time that you take in a seller appointment, we ask that you fill out this one-page sheet, just writing in, and then take a picture of it and send it to me via text message. Then what's going to happen in Follow-Up Boss, down here in the background section. So again, we're in the lead, Alice McNamara. You scroll down. In the background section, all of this information that Joan filled out for me is going to be in here. So I take the screenshot that you send me via text message and I enter in the data into Follow-Up Boss. And what this does for both of us, for myself and for the agents, is that a month later, if we want to see the status of this lead, if myself or Joan wants to take a look at what's going on with this particular appointment, we can say, hey, okay, this is what happened when Joan met with them a month ago. And that helps us because we generate a lot of leads, we have a lot of seller appointments, and after a while, you're not going to remember one seller from another, unfortunately. Well, I mean, it's a good thing because we're generating leads, but it's a bad thing because you're not going to be able to remember them all. So anytime that you call back a lead for follow-up, you're going to have all this background information so that you can, refresh your memory about exactly what happened on the appointment. All right. So that's another thing that you're going to want to do on every single appointment. All right, so the next thing that you need to do after every single appointment is you need to schedule the next task for the lead. All right, so again, you've got an appointment. We've scheduled the appointment for you. You go out, you meet with the person, you fill out the background information sheet. We put that information down into the background here. All right, the next thing that you need to do is put in here the task for what you're going to do next. All right, if for whatever reason you went out on the appointment and it was a dead lead, there is absolutely no potential for a listing. There's no potential for an Ocean City development purchase. You never want to work with them, or they never want to work with you. You just had a terrible appointment. You're never going to follow up with them again. You're going to change this from a hot prospect to a past client. Okay? And then you're going to put in the notes exactly why it's a dead lead now. So that can be for various reasons. Maybe they already have a listing agreement with another agent. Maybe you got into a fight with the agent, and maybe you got into a fight with the seller while you were there. Whatever the case is, just put in the reasoning for why it's now a past client, and then I'll know this file's dead. There's no future potential for it. All right? But let's assume that the appointment went good. You think they're going to sell at some point in the future, but they haven't signed a listing agreement yet. They haven't signed an agreement for me to purchase the property yet. There needs to be some sort of follow-up of what the next step is. And Joan did a really great job here for putting in exactly what that is that's going to happen next. So on January 12th, Joan is going to call to review the CMA with the seller, Alice McNamara. All right? So what that tells me is two things. Number one, this lead is not dead. This lead is still alive. Joan's still working it. And the next step for her is to review the CMA with the client. All right? So all that you need to do is put what the next step is. You're going to click Add a Task. You put whatever the next step is, the date under which you're going to do that task. So if you're going to call them, you're going to email them, you're going to meet them again in person, you put whenever that is, the time, which is less relevant because that could be any time. Assigned is going to be you. So in this case, it's going to be Joan. And then she's going to put in here whether it's a follow-up, a call, an email, an appointment, a showing, a closing, an open house, or a thank you. Most of the time, it's going to be a call that you're going to be following up with them. So I would usually click a call if you're going to call them, or if you have another appointment to go out to meet with the person again, you're going to click appointment. And again, that is just so that we know what the next step is with this person. There always needs to be some sort of next step, okay? Unless it's a dead lead, and then you mark it as a past client and you put in the reason why it's a dead lead. Otherwise, there's some sort of next follow-up, and you just put in what that is. Now, keep in mind, that task doesn't need to be in the next week. It doesn't have to be in the next 2 weeks. It could be in 3 months. Whenever you're next going to follow up with them, you put it in there. And then what's going to happen is, as you log into Follow Up Boss on a day-to-day basis, you're going to click in this Follow Up Today here on the left-hand side, and you're going to see all of the people that you need to call, email, text, and follow up with on a day-to-day basis. Okay? So right now, today, I have 127 people that I need to call, email, or follow up with in some way, shape, or form. Okay? And by the end of the day, my goal is to get that 127 down to 0. All right? So that's my goal for the day today. And as you build up your leads within Follow Up Boss, that follow up today is going to get bigger and bigger. But that's okay. That just means you're working more leads, you're working more prospects. So, the next step, the next thing I want to highlight in Follow Up Boss is the action plans. All right, so Joan, on this particular appointment, she met with them, she filled out the appointment analysis worksheet. She put in when she's going to follow up with them next. All right, but let's just say that Joan decided that she wants to follow up with clients on a regular basis. She can check off one of these action plans. So we have 4 major action plans that I want to highlight that agents use. And what an action plan does is it automatically will schedule a task for Joan on a recurring basis. So let me give you one just to start. This one is called our twice a year action plan. And what a twice a year action plan does, like every other action plan, it creates a task on a regularly scheduled basis. And like the name states, a twice a year action plan will automatically create a task up in this right hand column for Joan or whoever the agent is on this file to call the person every 6 months. Okay? So let's just say that we went here. We went to, let's go back to the original file. To go to the action plans, you click on action plan, and then you select which one you want. Let's say it's a twice a year action plan, and then you click apply. All right? It's going to say, are you sure you want to apply this action plan? And if you do, you click OK. And then what's going to happen on the twice a year action plan is that in 6 months from now, a task is going to pop up for Joan to follow up with this person. And then in another 6 months, it's going to create another task until Joan either, works with this person or marks it as a past client because it's a dead lead. All right, so the 4 action plans that agents typically use are the twice a year action plan, the quarterly action plan, same as the twice a year except it's 4 times instead of 2, every 3 months, the long-term follow-up action plan, the long-term monthly follow-up action plan. This creates a task once a month to make a call to a client. Now you want to use this in an event where the client is definitely interested in selling. They're not 100% sure when it's going to be. They tell you it might be in a month or 2 months or even 6 months. But you want to keep in touch with them on a regular basis. So again, very simple, very intuitive. You'll know which clients you want to follow up with on a monthly basis. And for the ones you do, you select the long-term monthly follow-up action plan. All right? So I told you there was 4 that we use. That's actually, I do have another one. I'm sorry. The other one is the email-only action plan. All right? The only time that you want to select an email-only action plan is for a person whose phone number has changed or is out of service or something has happened with their phone where you can't contact them anymore. Or you've called and called and called and called 5, 10, 15 calls and they're not responding to you and you don't want to give up on them completely, but you don't want to call them anymore. So you put them on the email-only action plan just so that they'll get an email drip about once a month that will be sent out to them just so that you're in front of them. Now, if the person's not responding to you after 5 or 10 calls, I would recommend putting them on the email-only action plan and a twice-a-year action plan just so that you get some calls in there still because in my opinion, you don't ever want to go to the email-only action plan unless you really can't, their phone is dead or it's not working or it's, something like that. I think you always want to at least call them twice a year unless you think it's a dead lead. All right, the next thing I want to highlight about Follow Up Boss is this detail columns here. Detail column. So for every appointment that you go on, we have someone manually entering some of the basics about each particular property that you go on. Now this is manually done. So if you get a lead and it's not done yet, it will be completed, but it's in a queue and someone actually needs to literally enter this information in. So it might be 12 hours, 24 hours later that it gets done, but it always does end up getting put in here. All right, so you want to take a look for that every single time that you have an appointment, and it's really the main things are the basics about the particular property: number of units, square footage, mortgage balance, year built, etc., etc. All the basics. The other thing that's very critically important, most important thing probably in the details column, is the CMA packet. Okay, so the CMA packet, which we cover in a separate video, goes over all the analysis of the property. So if you click into the CMA packet, you will actually be able to open or download probably a 15 or 20 page PDF packet that we've created for you with all of the details about the property. All right, so you'll be able to review this CMA packet either on your computer or you can print it out directly. All right, so that's in there. It's a clickable link. If for whatever reason the link doesn't work, please let me know and we'll get you the file, because if there's a link in there, the file has been created. All right, another thing I want to cover about Follow Up Boss. I get this all the time. People will say, they'll go to their appointment or they'll be on the way to the appointment and they'll say, the phone number's not in there. And they'll be panicking because it'll be like 2 minutes before the appointment. Okay? The reality is that the phone number is always actually in the file. It's always in there somewhere. Where it is might not be where you think it is, though. So let me just open one file here. All right. So typically, the phone number is going to be in this right-hand column here under the contact info. However, there are some times where we forget to manually enter it in there, and you actually have to go inside of the original email to find it. So I'm going to give you one example here. The name of the file, Francis Cotter. If you scroll down here all the way to the bottom, you're going to see this link called View Email. Now, if you click on that, you're going to be able to see the phone number that they actually gave us. And then, you can see here that we manually entered it correctly. But if you get an appointment and you don't see a phone number in there, you need to go to the bottom. You need to click into this View Email. I'm going to show you another example really quickly of another place that can sometimes be. All right, so here's another lead. This is a different kind of lead. And again, we ended up copying this phone number in there correctly. However, if you scroll down here, you'll see this Sell House Fast lead. So this was an online lead that someone went to our website. If you click on that, you'll see in here the pertinent information. So this is what they filled out online. And again, it has the phone number in there. So again, this is only when you log into Follow Up Boss and the phone number is not in this right-hand screen. It's going to be somewhere at the very bottom, a clickable link. So always look at that before you panic and think that the phone number is not in there. It is always in there. All right. The next thing I want to cover is the rescheduling feature. So like I mentioned a little bit earlier on this video, there are 20 to 30% of the time the person will either call you to reschedule, or they flat out just won't show up. All right. So if that happens, we need some sort of system where Barbara knows to start making those phone calls again. All right. So the first thing to do, anytime that a person either no-shows or tells you that they need to reschedule, you want to go to the action plan and you want to set the reschedule appointment action plan. So if you click on that and you click apply and then click OK, what you're going to see in the right-hand column is that just created an automatic call for Barbara to make. Okay? And it also schedules more calls than just that. It schedules a series of calls for Barbara to make so that she knows that she needs to reschedule the appointment. Now, as you know, we generate a good amount of leads. Barbara and myself, sometimes we get very busy. So what I'm going to ask you to do, anytime that a person either calls you to reschedule or they no-show, is first to click on this reschedule appointment action plan. And then the second thing is that I want you to be proactive and make at least 3 or 4 calls to try to reschedule that yourself as well. Okay? So if we have Barbara calling, or we have you calling, the odds that we're going to end up rescheduling that appointment goes up a lot more. One thing to note is that Barbara makes a lot of her calls during the day, during regular business hours, okay? So there are a lot of people that still want to sell their property that rescheduled with us for whatever reason, but they don't get home until after hours, or they just don't take calls until after hours. So it's really important that if you need to reschedule a call, don't assume that Barbara is going to be able to get in touch with them. Make a few calls yourself, and I also recommend very strongly send text messages too. Some people, for whatever reason, only respond via phone, and some people only respond via text message. And you're never going to know which is which until you actually try it. So don't guess, send both. If you call them, follow it up with a text message. If you text message, follow it up with a call. All right? All right, so I went over really briefly the follow-up today, but I'm going to click on that link now because the follow-up today is crucial, because the follow-up today link in this left-hand column tells you literally, who do I need to call today? And this is the main reason for Follow-Up Boss. This is the main reason to use it. It's a reminder system so that you know who you need to call and when you need to call them. In the prior video, when I talked about a deal that I lost, so I've lost multiple deals, on following up later than I was supposed to follow up. Okay? Sellers don't wait around, especially if they're motivated. So you need to call them on the day that you're supposed to call them. And how you know when you're supposed to call someone is the follow-up today. So when you click on follow-up today, you're going to click into it, and you're going to literally see all of the people that you need to make calls to in that day. Now, my list is pretty big because I have a lot of leads in here. Your number is going to be very small in the beginning. It might be only 3 or 4 or 5. But let me warn you, that builds up very, very quickly. If you don't log into Follow-Up Boss every day and make your calls, even if they're only 2 or 3 calls a day, you're going to get behind and you're going to miss some leads. You're going to miss some deals. I can guarantee you that. So all that you need to do is literally, when you click on Follow-Up today, you're going to see all the people. I have 127. So what you're going to want to do is go through each one of these 127 people. This person here, Gaston Williams, okay? It says that I need to make a call, my first phone call, right? So after I make that phone call, what do? I mark off that I completed the task. Now when I do that, let me just refresh it. Now you can see the number of tasks I have today just went down by 1 because I made that phone call. So let me uncheck it. So again, the goal on the follow-up today is to get this down to 0. All right? So anytime that you make a phone call, you send them an email, you send them a text message, you click off the task, and then you add the note. Okay? So in this case, I actually did call this person, and I forgot to check off the task, because you can see I have notes in here on what happened on that phone call. So for each person that you're scheduled to call, you both want to check off the task, so you know that you did it, and then put the notes in there, just to make sure that we know how the file is progressing, and so that you know how the file is progressing. Because that's another important thing too, is that when you call the person back, you want to know what happened on the last phone call. All right? So if the person told you to call back on Wednesday because that's when their daughter was graduating college, you want to be able to remember that. And the only way you can remember that is by documenting and leaving a note. So for example, in this case, if they told me to call back on Wednesday because their daughter was graduating college. Busy till Wednesday. Daughter graduating college. And then save note. Alright? You're going to see in there it automatically logs the time. Alright? January 11th, 2016 at 5:08 p.m. I made a note. Alright? So that when I go back here in 2 weeks, I'll know exactly what was said. Now, obviously, this isn't a real note, so I'm going to end up going back in here and deleting it. All right, so after, let's assume in this case, that I spoke to this person, and they told me that they want me to call them back on Wednesday. What I'm going to do, I'm I'm going to click that off. Again, I'm going to put the note in, but then I want to highlight the third thing to do. You always want to add the task. Asked for a call on Wednesday. Daughter graduating college. Alright, now I'm going to click off here. Call back on Wednesday, 10:30 a.m., me, and a call. Alright, so then I see in this upper right hand corner on 113, I have a task to call this person. And what's going to happen, because I scheduled this to happen in the future, is that this is no longer going to show up in my follow-up today. However, it's going to show up in my follow-up today on Wednesday. So you can see right now, because I checked off that task, I went from 127 tasks for today down to 126. Alright? But, so this does not show up in follow-up today anymore, but it will show up in follow-up today on Wednesday. So again, those are the main things. Alright? Couple other things I want to talk about just really quickly is the help button. So Follow Up Boss has really, really great support. The only negative is that you can't get a response automatically. So you do have to send the message to them. However, you will almost always get a response back within about an hour. So the help, like if you just want to ask them a question, you're in Follow Up Boss, you want to know how to do something really quickly, or you looked through the help section and you couldn't figure out how to do something, you click on this little icon right here in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, and that's going to pop up a chat box. Now it's not going to be live, so don't sit there expecting a response right away. But what you're going to do is you're going to click New Conversation. You're going to type in your question, and then you're going to select. Then you're going to hit Enter to send it, right? And as you can see, up in the right here, you can see active in the last 15 minutes. So because this is a weekday and it's during business hours, on average, their response is 15 minutes. All right? Sometimes that goes up to an hour, sometimes it goes up to 2 hours. But if you do have a question, I can guarantee they will get back to you. I've never sent in a question that I haven't gotten a response back to. The other thing I want to point out is all of the tutorials that they have. So if you want to know how to do anything within Follow Up Boss, all that you need to do is click on here, click on your name, and then go to, let's see, actually, I'm sorry, I thought it was here, but it's not right here, I don't think. Alright, so you have to go to www.followupboss.com/knowledge base. I think there is a way to get here inside of the system, but I think I forgot how to do it. I'm sorry, support.followupboss.com/knowledge base. Alright, so I'm just going to pause here for a second just so you can see exactly where to go and exactly what the URL is. And I'm going to click Enter. Alright, so this has a ton of videos on it. Way too many in my opinion, actually. They literally go through every single possible thing that you can do. These are articles, basic training. You can see there's a lot of videos here. So a lot of them are just clickable. You can click into them. Some of them are videos, but some of them are articles. Either way, there's a ton of different things that you can click into here, and these are all the main categories. So assigning leads, managing account, follow up on your leads. This is if you want to really learn how to do stuff that I haven't taught you. Again, there's not a lot outside of what I just said that you're really going to need to learn how to do. But if you do want to kind of fool around with it, that is where I would recommend going. There is the first tutorial, if you've never used Follow Up Boss. It's an introductory tutorial. I'm going to put the URL up on the screen here. Alright, so if you go to this www.tinyurl.com/FUB tutorial and then you click enter, it's going to take you to about a 30-minute walkthrough of how to use Follow Up Boss. And this is their training, so again, this isn't customized to anything that we do particularly. The stuff that I went over, to me, is the basics, the most important stuff. But they will cover a good amount of content there. So you have a lot of resources on how to use Follow Up Boss between this video, their tutorials, and their knowledge base. So between those three, it should cover almost everything that you need to know. But to go back again to why we do this, what is the method to this madness? Why do we demand that you use a CRM? Like I said in the video that preceded this one, I've lost tons of deals. We had just in this year, probably I would say 40 or so examples, right? I can point to, and I've done this because I've actually researched all of our leads back in 2015. We probably had about 20 deals that we lost because we didn't follow up enough or because we didn't follow up on time. And there's about another 20 or so deals that we ended up either listing or purchasing because we followed up a ton. And I cover some of these in the kickoff meeting, but long story short, if you make your calls that you're supposed to make every single day, you won't lose any leads, or you'll lose very, very few. If you log in once a week or once every couple weeks, you're going to end up losing them to a competitor that ends up calling them when they're supposed to, or following up with them when they're supposed to. So those are the main basics about using Follow Up Boss. You just need to be diligent every single day to get your follow-up today down to 0. Adding a task when you need to call somebody, putting in the notes into the system. It's really pretty simple. I mean, if you're doing it right, at the most, you should be spending probably about a half an hour in the CRM every single day. All right, so it doesn't take too much time, and real estate deals are worth a ton of money. So, do us both a favor and use it, and let me know if you do have any questions. I'd be happy to help with anything. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching.